from the sold-out Steel Twins recording studio in beautiful Traverse City, Michigan. It's your boys, the Cannonball, the Cannon, the Steel Twins. What's up, everybody? It's Wednesday night, and you know what that means. It is voice acting night.
You bet your ass.
Oh my gosh, I cannot believe this is episode number 26 of our great series, and moreover, this is the final in-game episode of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles.
And if you listen to this if you listen to that background music prior to us going live, trust me, there's a lot more coming, and I'm already getting goosebumps right now just thinking about this.
I'm shaking. I haven't even drinking my Bang Energy yet, and I'm already shaking.
Speaking of which, be right back.
Oh, come on, man. Okay, I got a second. Where the hell's the damn meme board?
Well, sorry about that.
No kidding. No, actually, I have to do this. I'm so sorry. Not okay. So, right. So, of course, you know, it's a little. I have to do this. Well. Sad face. Oh well. So, no comments. That's okay.
Not yet.
We'll get there soon. So,
right, before we go any further, I do have a few announcements to make. First of all, we already know what our next project is going to be after we're done with this game, and that will be Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga from the Game Boy Advance.
Yep, and as you can see in the little inset here, it's on the Game Boy Advance program within on Nintendo Switch Online.
Yep, and I've played that game before, and I discovered that if you make a mistake or something, you just rewind it back. You know?
Yeah, yes, that's right. We can turn it backwards, and you know, like if we make a mistake as far as, you know, if we're near death or if we're near this or that. So, you know, you'll probably see a lot of those shenanigans. Yeah. But
anyway, and then my next announcement, I really want to make this.
Okay?
I really want to make.
He wants to do it.
So, those who are going to watch after the fact, those who are going to tune in. Well, if you're in the mood for more Ace Attorney shenanigans and more Ace Attorney drama and more Ace Attorney thrills, Capcom has confirmed that a new Ace Attorney trilogy is set to be out early 2024. I am talking about the Apollo Justice Ace Attorney trilogy. It'll be based on the next three games after Phoenix Wright Trials and Tribulations. It'll be Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, followed by Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Dual Destinies, and Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney Spirit of Justice. And all of that will be cleaned up in beautiful HD, ported in consoles.
What a mouthful, but yes, it's so exciting. So yeah, you thought we were done with all this scripted dialogue and pressing button stuff? Nay, sir. Nay.
Well, I will tell you this. It will be a future project of ours once we get to that bridge and cross it.
Once we get to that bridge, we will definitely cross it. So, without any further ado, if you have a cap to your drink or a pin on your... If you have a cap to your bottle or a pin on your drink, go ahead and pull that pin back. Yo, package. What time is it?
It's time to get bombed.
Cheers.
Cheers, mate. Oh, yeah. I already got hiccups.
Yeah, the carbonation hit him pretty hard there.
My mistake.
Oh, boy.
Lord, I apologize. I'm so rude.
Could you just go to water, mate?
Yeah. Anyways, why don't we Well,
Let's
why don't we
take
get going with this, okay?
Let's take this buggy for a spin.
Yeah, it's the final battle. The creme de la creme. The cream of the crop.
It always rises to the top.
Yeah, the coup de grace. The legal battle to end all legal battles.
Oh, you mean Donald Trump? no,
Nope, not that.
Nope. Thank goodness it's not that. That's scary as hell.
Yeah.
It's the final episode of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. So so obviously, as you know, the case that we're working on spans 2 episodes, and this is episode 2, the last of the 5 for this game. So, what we have found is that, okay, Lord Barok van Zieks has been accused of murdering Inspector Tobias Gregson, and it turns out that Inspector Gregson has been using a guy by the name of Daily Vigil to serve as the inspector as Tobias Gregson was carrying out covert activities.
Ooh. But
However,
there's going to be much more than meets the eye. I will tell you that right now.
And our boy Ryunosuke Naruhodo is going to cut right through the bullshit. But he's going to have a lot of help. So, without any further ado, I've said that before, we go to the final case, the resolve of Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Good news. The check cleared. It's go time. Well, it's trial of the century, folks. Let's get to it, baby. It's the final chapter. The resolve of Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
And perk your ears open, folks. I mean, some of the music you will hear in this trial, in this episode, probably the best in the series.
3rd November, 9:14 a.m., the Old Bailey, defendant's antechamber. Listen carefully to this music.
So, the time's finally come. Today, we unravel everything. I'll be counting on your support more than ever today, Mrs. Sato. Mrs. Sato?
Ah! Hi-ya! Sato, take down! Oh no! What's the matter, Mr. Naruhodo?
Nothing. I was just saying that I'll be relying on your support today, but...
I'm so sorry. Of course, I know I can be rather incompetent at times, but I shan't let you down.
Would you mind helping me to my feet then?
Oh dear, I'm really very sorry.
Sato-san isn't her usual self at all. That's hardly surprising, I suppose. She's just found out that her father is the partner of a world-famous detective. Not to mention...
Good morning, sir.
This guy. Lord Van Zieks.
Thank you for all your efforts yesterday.
What? Did I hear that correctly?
What?
No, nothing. Just, I hope we can clear things up today. I really can't make this man out. His face says I hate you, but his words are almost jovial today. In fact, he hasn't been very Reaper-like at all since this all began yesterday.
Lord Van Zieks isn't the Reaper, Miss Naruhodo.
Good point.
The Reaper? I suppose in hindsight, I shouldn't have allowed that misconception to go unchallenged.
Huh?
It was my tacit acceptance of that pseudonym. My failure to stop the Reaper becoming something more than a mere legend that led to all this. But you're not to blame for that, Lord Van Zieks.
It's only because serious crime in the capital dropped off so sharply when the public started calling you that. That's why you didn't say anything, isn't it?
To be frank, I'm not sure that was the sole reason.
What do you mean?
There was a rumor at the time that the Reaper was really the ghost of my late brother. That having been slain by that evil killer, Clint's restless spirit returned as some sort of demigod to wield a deadly blade of justice where I, by dint of the law, could not.
Yes, we've heard that story too.
When I lost him, I felt as though I'd lost my guiding light. I didn't know where to go or what to do. And so, in some small way, I wonder if perhaps those rumors made me feel his absence a little less keenly. Even if I knew it was just an illusion, just some nonsense conjured up by an over-imaginative public. He was obviously extremely important to you, Lord Clint Van Zieks.
Well, what's important now is uncovering the truth. That's all that matters. I know that you didn't take anyone's life. And I intend to prove that beyond a shadow of a doubt in court today.
I never thought I'd say this, but I can see it in your eyes. That burning desire to cut through all the lies and deception. I can't deny it any longer. You are a lawyer of absolute integrity.
Thank you.
Now tell me, why do I detect the scent of expensive tea leaves in the air?
Oh, Iris, when did you get here?
Oh,
I brought you one of my special blends. Hurley loves it. He says it helps him to clear his head.
I thank you.
Oh.
That's surely the first and last time I'll ever see a sight like this. You seem different today, Iris. Sort of subdued, I suppose.
I am not.
What happened yesterday is obviously still playing on her mind a lot. She's clearly very troubled about having stolen that autopsy report from Dr. Sai's laboratory.
All right then. You like tea both? I have to make a move now.
Oh, you're not staying?
I thought you'd want to watch today's proceedings.
Well, I like to cheer you on, obviously. But I've got lots to get ready.
Get ready? For what?
Oh, yes. Would you take this?
Isn't that one of the little felt dolls that's usually dangling from your knapsack?
Yes, it's a lucky charm. A little Hurley that I made once.
A Hurley? Looks more like a Hairley to me.
If for some reason you completely run out of options in the trial today, then just pull this into Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can.
What? Pull his ears?
That's right. It's a way to bring good luck. I think you might need it.
You have no idea, folks.
Iris's lucky charm has been entered into the court record.
Little doll of Mr. Sholmes in hair form.
I've been told to tug its ears if I run out of options in the trial today.
You think what we'll need is luck?
I just sneaked a peek inside the courtroom. And it seemed very different to normal.
Yes, it would seem that a certain someone has decided to pull out all the stops.
What does that mean?
What about Mr. Sholmes, Iris?
I don't know. He was out all night and he hadn't come home by the time I left this morning.
Oh, I see.
Was Professor Mikatoba out all night too, do you think, Mrs. Sato?
Yes, it would seem so. I telegrammed the hotel this morning. And apparently they didn't come back to their rooms last night at all.
They?
Father, and Judge Dakoku, I mean.
Judge Jigoku too?
Wait a minute. That's right. Nobody appears to have seen either of them since yesterday.
That's weird.
Something doesn't smell right, folks.
Dude, it smells like fish. I'm not even gonna guess.
Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court is about to be in session. Please make your way inside the courtroom at once.
You like doing me now? You like Susie?
Yes. Thanks, Iris.
And you, Mr. Reaper, I hope it goes well.
Once again, I thank you for the delicious tea. It was very soothing.
Oh, I'm so glad.
We must go inside now, Lord Van Zieks. That's right.
Lord Van Zieks has always been the formidable prosecutor I've had to lock horns with in court. But not today. Today, I battle with another in pursuit of the truth. My best friend, Cosma Sogi, who I trust more than anyone else in the world. Now I understand what it was that drew me here to Britain all those months ago. Now I know exactly what destiny had in store for me. It's all been leading up to this one day, to this one trial, to this one final reckoning. Well, buckle up, boneheads. That's all I gotta say.
Because we're going on a ride, baby. 3rd of November, 9:30 a.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. Silent in here.
Deathly silent.
Where's the judge?
Feels even more oppressive in here than it did yesterday. Cold stares piercing me like knives from all sides today.
Ah! Mr. Naruto, look! What the?
What the hell? The Lord Strongheart? Kazuma must have known beforehand. The ramifications of this trial now extend far beyond the murder of one Scotland Yard inspector. In fact, events have come to light that threaten to rock the very foundations of our country's legal system.
The escape of a condemned criminal on the night of his execution, the subsequent unlawful shooting of the man, and the revelation that prison staff must have been complicit in the jailbreak.
Britain is currently hosting influential members of the judiciary from countries all around the world. It is imperative that we uncover the truth in these proceedings to avoid international embarrassment. By royal decree, this will continue to be a closed trial, and one over which I, Male Strongheart, exercise total and unequivocal authority.
Oof. This is like a final boss fight, dude.
The 6 jurors' flames just... As was the case in yesterday's proceedings, those here present in the public gallery are distinguished members of our judiciary, assembled to bear witness to a fair judicial process.
In other words, a collection of your acolytes, Lord Strongheart.
On a personal note, I find this most distressing, Lord Van Zieks. You are a prosecutor of exceptional talent. Much like your brother Clint, in fact. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session for the trial of Barok van Zieks, who officially stands accused of murder. Get a listen to this music.
Yeah!
Counsels for the prosecution and defense, are you in full readiness to proceed? The defense is ready, my lord.
As is the prosecution.
Yesterday's proceedings brought to light a shocking and disturbing fact. There was a side to the victim, Inspector Tobias Gregson, that was unknown to his superiors at Scotland Yard.
Yes, he was carrying out operations in secret, which Scotland Yard knew nothing about.
And in those clandestine operations, he had an accomplice.
I think it's pronounced clandestine. Mr. Daily Vigil, who will be given the inspector's identification and present himself around the capital in order to establish credible alibis for Gregson. In that way, Gregson appeared to be carrying out his regular Scotland Yard work, when in fact, he wasn't.
At the end of yesterday's session, Mr. Vigil, who had been suffering from amnesia, regained his memory. The appear he buried his memories of the time deep inside himself as a means of self-preservation. Because whilst he was engaged as chief warder at Berkeley Prison, he abetted the convict's escape.
Mr. Vigil is currently recuperating at St. Sinners. He's recovered enough to give a signed statement about his movements on the day prior to the incident. He's formally admitted to posing as Gregson whilst investigating the red-headed lead.
Which brings us to the crucial issue of the victim's time of death. The defense yesterday proposed a suggestion that the victim may have been killed 1 day earlier. This was based largely on the discovery that the victim's pocket watch had not been wound.
The prosecution has something to report on that subject, my lord.
Really? Go ahead, Prosecutor Asogi.
I met once again with the coroner yesterday to discuss the issue. She confirmed that the defense's suggestion could not be ruled out. It's entirely possible that Inspector Gregson was killed on the 31st of October, the day before his body was discovered. I have here an updated autopsy report that includes the amended details.
But the official opinion of the investigation team was made clear yesterday that the time of death was 5 p.m. on the 1st of November.
There are indications of an attempt to disguise the real time of death, however. It seems that the natural decaying process of the victim's body may have been slowed by keeping it chilled.
That's out of the question. There are no refrigeration devices in that part of London large enough to accommodate a human corpse. My lord, this is more than just conjecture. There's evidence to support the idea. We must investigate it thoroughly. Very well. The court will accept the new report as evidence. However, if this updated report is deemed to be accurate, it would give renewed significance to the movements of the victim on the day before the Fresno Street incident.
It would, yes. Especially since on that day, Inspector Gregson was using Mr. Vigil to cover up his real movements. It's conceivable that he was killed in the course of his secret activities.
Do I sense that the prosecution has some information regarding those activities?
Scotland Yard put an enormous effort into investigating that precise matter yesterday. I think we should begin by presenting the results of that investigation work. So the prosecution calls its first witness now.
Okay, our feet are in the water, kids.
State your name and occupation for the court.
Inspector Gina Lestrade, reporting. Representative of Scotland Yard.
A self-conferred rank, but never mind.
Gina, again?
What's your problem, Otto? What's with that Gina again look, eh? A boss meant well to me. He done more for me than anyone else ever did.
Oh? Inspector Gregson, you mean?
He got me out of the back slums of the East End and took me under his wing. Taught me that life can have a purpose. So that's why I'm the best person to be standing here speaking for him.
Oh, Gina.
Right. All out of the goodness of Gregson's heart. Not at all that he had his arm twisted by Mr. Sholmes, no.
What's relevant to these proceedings is that the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations yesterday has revealed that the victim was carrying out some assignment the police knew nothing about.
Very troubling. That face. Lord Strongheart knew!
So, Inspector Lestrade, let's hear exactly what it says in that report.
Coming right up, sir.
There we go. Witness testimony.
The victim's movements.
All yard detectives are supposed to follow orders and investigate what they're told. A little search of the boss's office turned up a notebook and a load of secret meetings in it. According to that, the boss was looking at some smuggled goods dealings that day. So it was a big job and all, the coppers weren't onto it yet. What matters most is there was witnesses what sort of reaper at the place too.
Smuggled goods?
Oh, boy.
I don't know, do I? I'm just telling you what's written in the book.
Tobacco, tea, spices, medicines, goods of all sorts flow into London by illegal channels from across the globe. It's well known that they're disposed of at regular black markets that take place in the capital. But the police are rarely able to locate them in time.
So Inspector Gregson was investigating one of those black markets? It's being suggested that high-ranking government officials may be involved in black market activity. No doubt Gregson was trying to avoid details of his investigations being leaked to the involved parties. That would explain why he was operating on his own authority, without the Yard's knowledge. And do we know where the dealings were taking place this time?
In a particular room of a certain exclusive London gentleman's club, and on the day in question, the accused is known to have been there. That's the conclusion of Scotland Yard's investigation into the matter.
That can't be! We haven't heard anything about any of this.
Members of the club have testified to it. There's no question. The accused, Barok van Zieks, was present.
That would be very significant testimony then.
Oh my, but Lord Van Zieks has made no mention of this at all. In short, Lord Van Zieks had ample opportunity to murder the victim.
Very well then. Counsel for the defense, begin your cross-examination.
All right, round one. Fight! Victim's movements.
All Yard detectives are supposed to follow orders and investigate what they're told.
Hold it! So, you follow orders, do you, Gina?
Nah, not me. I'm above all that, see?
Oh,
A boss always had special orders for me. Grab us some fish and chips, or go get Toby his grub. That kind of thing.
so errands more than orders then.
This detective is still an apprentice after all.
Yeah, well, his apprentice ain't want to sit around and wait to be told what to do, even by the boss. That's why I've been doing my own investigation into what happened. I didn't find much at first. A little search of the boss's office turned up a notebook and a load of secret meetings in it.
Hold it! So you went through Inspector Gregson's things.
Yep, it's part of the independent Lestrade investigation.
I'm sure your superiors would be delighted that you're taking the initiative.
So I snuck into his office when no one else is about. Cause if anyone at Yard had seen me going in there, they'd have turfed me straight out on the street.
This is sounding less and less like an investigation, and more like something else.
The prosecution understands that it was this very detective who discovered the notebook.
You got that right. Nothing gets past Inspector Lestrade, and I trust the Assistant Chief Inspector Toby. We found it hidden in one of his desk drawers and at a false bottom.
That's impressive.
So then I went and hid myself where no one could find me so I could have a butcher's of what was written in it. So if anyone at the Yard had found me out, they'd have turfed me straight out in the street.
Maddie!
Thanks so much for watching the stream.
Thanks for liking.
Or liking the stream.
I've given it in now though, ain't I? If it weren't for me, it would have never been found. According to that, the boss was looking at some smuggled goods dealings that day.
Hold it! Do you have any idea where those dealings were taking place?
Yep, it was all there in the boss's notes. Let's see if I can remember.
As I already said, the illegal dealings were due to take place at a gentleman's club.
Yes, I remember, but I was hoping to find out the name of the club.
That won't be necessary.
What?
It's conceivable that the club might be used again by the smugglers in future. Therefore, the prosecution has been asked not to reveal the name in these proceedings.
I don't know what the fuss is all about. It's right here. All I gotta do is read it out. And I could too. I got his reading game buttoned up now. Can't I show you what I can do? Get on, what's the harm?
The judge hasn't signaled his objection yet. I could try to find out. What should I do?
Insist.
This is a closed court. The proceedings are confidential. There shouldn't be any possibility of the information being leaked. As I explained, there is some possibility of politicians being involved in this affair. The prosecution is rightfully exercising caution, I imagine.
No, my lord. The prosecution has no objection.
Kazuma?
There's no question that Inspector Gregson was looking into these black market dealings. However, it's not yet been established that he was on that particular trail on the day in question. If the defense requires to know the club's name, the prosecution has no intention of being obstructive.
Right then, I get to show off me reading skills.
Apparently a smuggled goods deal was going to happen at a gentleman's club called the Grouse.
Wait, the Grouse? Hold it.
Hold it. The Grouse? What sort of a club is that?
I ain't got the foggiest. Clubs ain't exactly my thing, but I am kind of curious.
They're not places where a foreign student like you would be readily admitted.
Have you looked in the mirror recently?
I'll tell you what, me and Chief Inspector Toby could go in undercover.
Could you, though?
I could pick out a few good marks and see what else I could find out while I was in there.
I really don't think you should go picking out anything. Anyway, that's where these black market dealings are going to take place, is it?
Yeah, it's gotta be. That's what a lower ranking detective at the yard reckon.
Says the even lower ranking detective. Okay, I'm gonna turn backwards. Hang on a second. Local goods deal is gonna happen at a gentleman's club called the Grouse.
The Grouse, huh?
The Grouse, you say? Well, don't we have something that looks like that? What's this say?
Oh, it looks like this is some sort of steamship ticket. The SS Grouse, first class cabin 001. Yokohama departure 11th of September. London arrival 1st of November.
Ah, that's the boat that Professor Mikitoba and Judge Jigoku came on from Japan, isn't it?
Yes, I think it called at Dunkirk on the north coast of France for a night before finally arriving in Dover.
To think it's been almost a year since we arrived at Dover on the SS Buria. It seems a shame not to keep your ticket as a memento of your trip, don't you think?
Yes, I agree. I have mine safely in my diary.
And I keep mine in my wallet, so I have it with me at all times. Oh, well, how strange. Where could it have gone?
Are you like this on purpose, Mr. Naruhodo?
Did I imagine it, or was that comment accompanied by a little sigh? Well, hang on a second. Let's present it. Objection! I've read about these clubs that exist here in Britain. As I understand it, they're places where well-to-do gentlemen socialize with friends and colleagues.
Don't imagine for a second that a foreign student like you would be admitted.
Seriously, is your mirror cracked or something? Do we know for sure that the contraband dealings were definitely happening at a club called the Grouse?
The police are currently looking for evidence, but haven't found anything definitive yet.
And I'm sorry to say that they probably won't.
What do you mean by that?
I mean that the place Inspector Gregson was secretly going to visit on the 31st of October may not have been a gentleman's club at all. You're showing a very irreverent attitude towards your country's police force there, Counsel.
But
If it wasn't a gentleman's club, then what was it? A steamship.
you think it's a ship?
I have the evidence to prove it here. Let me see that. This dark-suited young man is not in the least bit untrustworthy. The other side, my lord. Be more specific next time. This would appear to be a ticket for passage upon a steamship, yes? The SS Grouse.
Objection! Objection! So there's a steamship named the Grouse that happens to share a name with the club. But I'm afraid to say there's a flaw in your logic there.
How?
Look at the ticket. Notice the date of arrival in port.
The ship arrived at the port of Dover on the 1st of November.
The day on which the sound like a gunshot was heard on Fresno Street. In other words, on the day in question here, 31st of October, when the victim was on his clandestine mission, that ship hadn't yet docked on British shores.
That would certainly make an undercover investigation somewhat challenging.
Objection!
Objection! The fact that the steamship hadn't yet reached Britain substantiates the defense's assertion that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse on the day in question.
Then show your evidence for that assertion.
Very well. In that case, counsel for the defense, present your evidence to the court now. Evidence that substantiates your claim that the victim was investigating the SS Grouse on the 31st of October. It could be this thing right here.
Take that!
Take that! What's this? A passport for travel issued to the victim? Dated the 31st of October? What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that just one day before the inspector's body was discovered, there's a distinct possibility he wasn't even in the country. We kind of figured that out last episode. Order! Order! This document is for passage to France. Does appear to have been officially authorized. The day before the SS Grouse arrived at Dover, it docked on the northern coast of France for a night.
According to my father, who was on board at the port of Dunkirk.
Dunkirk, France. What could possibly have taken the victim there?
I'm impressed, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I certainly didn't expect you to get your hands on that passport.
What? You mean you knew about this? Huh?
The prosecution strategy for this trial has been laid down by the Crown Prosecution Office. On the day before the incident, the victim was investigating contraband dealings at a London club. That's the outcome of Scotland Yard's investigations and the line the prosecution has been asked to follow. But personally, I don't agree. I think the prosecutor's office is trying to hide something.
What?
And now that you've expertly disproven their assertion, I intend to reveal what I believe that something to be.
What are you playing at, Prosecutor Asogi?
A courtroom is a forum for the truth, my lord. Which is why it's my duty to present all the facts without exception.
Let me guess. This was your intention from the outset, wasn't it?
The reason Inspector Gregson secretly made his way to the steamship docked in France on the day in question was to carry out a mission for the Reaper.
The Reaper?
Oh, no.
Order! Order! What on earth are you saying, counsel?
The prosecution made an assertion in court yesterday.
That might be a little juicy.
Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand. But in reality, the truth is the opposite of that.
What?
Inspector Gregson wasn't investigating the Reaper at all. He was, in fact, acting for the Reaper.
So, you're saying the mission he was undertaking was...
Obviously, an assassination.
Huh?
Barok van Zieks never carried out any of the actual killings. Whenever the Reaper's victims lost their lives, he always had a cast iron alibi. Which tells us that he must have had an accomplice.
And you claim that was Inspector Gregson? How...
Hold it! What the hell do you think you're saying, eh? My boss would have never done nothing like that.
And yet, when you consider all the facts, it all makes perfect sense.
No, it can't be.
We also arrived at the same conclusion, didn't we? That Inspector Gregson was operating as the Reaper.
Even so, there's no way that the person giving him his orders was Lord Van Zieks. No, the true Reaper is somebody else.
Oh, we'll find out who.
Barok van Zieks is not the Reaper.
A predictable response from someone who's advocating for the man.
And even if it's true that Gregson was operating as an agent of the Reaper, the suggestion that he went aboard the SS Grouse on an assassination mission doesn't follow at all. Oh? You have some solid reason for doubting the assertion, do you, counsel? Absolutely. It's very simple. On the day in question, nobody was killed aboard that steamship. Professor Mekatoba and Judge Jigoku were on that very ship. If someone had been assassinated, I'm certain we would have heard about it. What's so funny?
You're right. Of course, no suspicious deaths were reported on board the ship. But I think perhaps you've missed the point. That's precisely why Inspector Gregson himself lost his life.
What?
Gregson did board the SS Grouse that night with the intention of dispatching his mark. But his mission ended in failure.
Failure?
It seems that the defense hasn't yet grasped a very important detail here.
What are you talking about? What detail?
Inspector Gina Lestrade,
What?
the victim's notebook that you read an excerpt from earlier, that doesn't contain details of secret investigations at all. It describes 10 years of assassination plots to be carried out by the Reaper of the Bailey.
You're lying! Even if all them bludgers what got taken out here to coming, the boss were the Reaper.
Poor Gina. There's no question that Tobias Gregson was heavily involved in the Reaper's activities. You may just be an apprentice, but if you spent any time at Scotland Yard, you must have heard rumors.
I ain't heard nothing, and I don't believe a word of it.
Then testify again, as a representative of Scotland Yard. Consider it your chance to defend your boss.
I don't...
I concur. The witness will give a new formal testimony. Miss Lestrade, you will tell the court everything you know about Inspector Gregson's secret notebook.
I think she's about to lose it, folks.
Yeah, she's about to crack.
The Reaper's notebook.
Yeah, this notebook does have a load of stuff about what a Reaper got up to these past 10 years. Names of victims, dates and places and stuff. And the last entry in here was the 31st of October. It said grouse for the place on that date, and then the name of the mark. There's a note about him being a criminal who got away from the raper in court 10 years ago or something. But honest, the boss didn't do none of it. He was just investigating the raper, it's all.
I think we should grill it like a hamburger.
Oh, yep. Extra crispy. Keep personal opinion out of your testimony, witness. We require only established fact here. This must be so hard for her.
You can't deny it now, surely, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
What can I deny?
The notebook contained the name of the final mark and the location where the assassination would take place. That's information that the victim could only have known if he was working with the Reaper.
Ah! So, who was to be this final mark?
Go ahead, Inspector Lestrade. Read the name for the court.
Oh boy.
Here we go. The name that's written alongside the entry that mentions the grouse on the 31st of October.
Hi. Oh, how do you read this then?
Reading's still not her strong suit.
That ain't the problem, alright, Otto? It's a funny name. You know, in English, it's hard to read.
So it's someone from overseas.
Let me have a bash at it. Seishiro. Is it? Yeah. Seishiro. Jigoku. Jigoku, maybe?
What? It can't be. Seishiro Jigoku?
But that's Judge Jigoku.
Seishiro Jigoku. Certainly not an English name, you're right.
Objection!
Objection! But that can't be right! I know Judge Jigoku, and I saw him the day before yesterday, here in London. So I know for a fact that the man hasn't been assassinated.
As I said, the Reaper failed.
Oh,
Gregson missed his chance to kill his mark and return to British shores. But the Reaper wouldn't tolerate the mistake, so he killed the inspector personally.
huh.
The Reaper, of course, being the accused, Barok van Zieks.
It's an undeniably logical argument. Kazuma, you planned for the trial to go this way all along, didn't you?
Hold it! Hold it! Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice whilst I stand accused of murder.
Lord Van Zieks!
The accused has no right to speak uninvited in court. You will return to the dock. I say nothing of whether or not I'm the Reaper. That's the task of this court to decide. But there is one thing I can say unequivocally. That girl is no detective.
Hey, what? No, that's right, alright. I'm an inspector.
Repeating rumors heard around the yard, reading entries from a notebook of unconfirmed origin. That's not testimony, it's practically a script. No doubt the rest of this trial will go exactly as you've clearly planned. Your hatred of me is understandable. In your mind, I'm sure I am the Reaper who sent your father to the gallows all those years ago. But you're in danger of becoming a far more sinister Reaper yourself by attempting to have me condemned with this feeble excuse for testimony. What did you say? Mr. Naruhodo, this is our chance!
My lord, the defense requests that the defendant be allowed to speak. He may be privy to important information relating to the testimony just given by the witness. Very well. I'll make an exception and grant the request. The defendant may remain in the witness stand for the cross-examination.
Then allow me to toast the court's impartiality.
Don't raise your glass in my direction, sir. Counsel for the defense, begin the cross-examination immediately. Whoosh!
This has gotten interesting, isn't it?
At once, my lord. What do you think of that? I think that was kind of sweet. All right, here we go.
Let's go.
Cross-examination, the Reaper's Notebook.
Yeah, this notebook does have a load of stuff about what a Reaper got up to these past 10 years.
Hold it! In other words, it shows that Gregson was basically acting as the Reaper.
Not you and all. That ain't the only explanation, is it? He could have been investigating a Reaper in secret, and that notebook said what he found out.
If I may. When originally people began referring to me as the Reaper, I didn't object. I believe the power to intimidate London's criminal classes into compliance with the law to be beneficial.
But you carried out your own investigations into the true identity. But you carried out your own investigations into the true identity of the Reaper, didn't you?
Yes, and those investigations proved conclusively that Gregson was one arm of the Reaper.
One arm? What are you on about?
The Reaper's victims were all extremely shrewd criminals at the top of their game. There's simply no way one person could have taken them on alone. The Reaper is an organization. With you at its head? I had spies at the yard keeping me abreast of Gregson's movements, letting me know when he was elsewhere. So I've been able to check the most recent entry in his book. I knew the location.
You knew it said grouse?
Believing it to be a reference to the Gentleman's Club, I went there on the day in question to investigate. Alone.
So that corroborates the original story.
So that explains why several members of the club claim to have seen you there. But of course, the inspector was not there. Because of the time, he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk.
Huh?
Very well then. Back to your testimony about the contents of this notebook.
Hold up, Jack. How does he know about the trunk?
What?
Wait, I don't know. Maybe that's
what?
just a... Huh?
What?
Let's keep that in the back of our mind here.
Yeah, that's gonna be important.
Fine.
Is something wrong, Mr. Naruhodo? You seemed a little shocked by something a moment ago.
Oh, no, it's all right. I'm overthinking this, aren't I?
Names of victims, dates and places and stuff. And the last entry there was 31st of October.
Hold it! Names of victims, dates and places and stuff. What in particular?
Well, besides the victims' names, this other name kept cropping up.
What other name was that?
It's the one I told you yesterday. The same name written over and over again.
You mean Asa Shin?
Yeah, that's the one. She a friend of yours or something, isn't she?
Friend my ass.
Oh, you are so naive. Were you even listening yesterday?
Asa Shin, the assassin.
What? Like a killer, you mean?
Gregson was the tactician, the one who came up with the plan of attack. He investigated the marks thoroughly, finding out when they would be vulnerable and who to use to get at them.
But the person actually executing his plans was someone else, you're saying. If that's true, then the Reaper does indeed start to sound like an organized group of vigilantes. Then perhaps what it said on the passport document, permission for the applicant and one additional person to travel. Could that additional person have been...
Oh, I think clearly the assassin who was meant to take Seishiro Jikogu's life.
Gina, can you confirm that? Against the final entry that listed Grouse and Seishiro Jigoku, what name was written?
Well, that's the only entry that didn't have a name next to it, as it happens.
What?
It just had like a question mark or something there, I think.
In other words, Gregson himself didn't know the identity of the assassin in that case.
But Gregson was the one making the plans, was he not? Oh, how infuriating!
A nameless assassin. Oh boy.
Said Grouse for the place on that date, and then the name of the mark.
Hold it. And you're saying that the mark listed was Seishiro Jigoku?
That's what it said. Funny name if you ask me. And I thought your name was odd.
So pleased to have lost my crown there.
Mr. Jikogu is the presiding judge of Japan's Supreme Court of Judicature.
I remember the man. He came to our country as a visiting student 16 years ago.
Studying international law and diplomacy under your tutelage, Lord Strongheart.
That bearded young fellow was a very able man, I must say. So Lord Strongheart was Judge Jigoku's mentor. If I'm not mistaken, he returned to Japan 10 years ago now.
10 years ago, after that fateful case.
Precisely. In the aftermath of the professor case, his repatriation was organized immediately. It's a mystery why such a man would be listed in the inspector's notebook.
I didn't think it was possible, but the mood in here's got even worse now. Maybe I'll just keep talking. There was a note about him being a criminal what got away from the rape in court 10 years ago or something.
Hold it! What do you mean a criminal? Judge Jigoku is no criminal!
But don't ask me, I don't know nothing about it.
Oh, do you remember what Father told us? That Judge Jikoku did once appear in court here in Britain. It was related to the professor case, I'm sure.
Yes, of course. You're right.
Seishiro was trying to mitigate Genshin's guilt, so he took to the stand to testify. But he got a little carried away and, actually managed to break the witness stand. He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged.
Yep, talking shit about the government.
It was a pitiful situation, yes. I'd forgotten all about it, but I prosecuted that trial too, as it happens.
You did?
It was considered to be an adjunct to the professor proceedings, you see. But he was acquitted after being told to make reparation for the damage caused to the stand. And there you have it. Have what? Surely the accused hasn't forgotten his own rule. That there's no saving anyone who faces the Reaper in court, guilty or innocent alike.
What? No! Are you suggesting that the reason Judge Jigoku was targeted for assassination?
The man was sent back to Japan immediately after that trial. The Reaper had no time to do his work. But then, 10 years later, the mark returns to Britain once more. Perhaps now you start to see just how vindictive the Reaper is.
Come on, that's absurd! To take someone's life for that?
Isn't the whole premise of the Reaper absurd, killing those who have been found innocent? Clearly, the rules by which the man operates are beyond the sane person's comprehension.
But...
Objection! Right, I've had just about enough of this.
Gina!
All this nonsense about the boss planning to kill people, it's cobblers. Come on, Otto!
Yes?
Why ain't you saying nothing? Why ain't you yelling out objection or something?
What?
You gotta find a flaw, you do usually. Someone's lying here, no question. You gotta work out who it is. Please, for the boss.
What has gotten into her?
That outburst was an insult to the court and to your own testimony. Might have known that a common pickpocket from the back slums couldn't make a detective. When this trial is over, you will forfeit your warrant card, Miss Lestrade. Is that clear?
I've had it with the lot of you. There's lies every blatant place you look in this world, ain't it? Well, I've had enough.
Gina.
So have I. After that little speech of Gina's, I've made up my mind.
To do what, Mr. Naruto?
There was one point in this cross-examination when something that was said just didn't sit right with me. One statement that seemed odd.
Oh, do you mean...
I'm not going to let Gina's plea for help fall on deaf ears.
Come on, Otto, help! You gotta find a flaw somewhere.
Hold it! I want to thank you, Gina. You helped me find my resolve.
What do you mean?
Amongst everything we've heard during this cross-examination, there's one thing that defies explanation. One inconsistency. What? An inconsistency?
Really, Otto?
I don't quite know what it means yet, but... Yes, there's an inconsistency in something that was said by... well, we already know what to say. Kazuma Sogi.
Take that!
Take that! By you, Kazuma Sogi!
Me?
Is this some attempt at filibustering, counsel? Prosecutor Asogi has given no testimony.
What are you suggesting I said that was inconsistent?
You let something slip that you shouldn't have. When I present the relevant piece of evidence, I imagine you'll realize what you've done. Very well then, counsel. Go ahead. What evidence reveals this alleged inconsistency in something Prosecutor Asogi has said?
Well,
all together, everybody. Take that!
take that.
This is a trunk that belonged to Inspector Gregson. A metal construction, is it? Certainly very heavy. Huh! What's this? A blood stain. And a relatively fresh one, too. Huh.
What? You mean that ain't Grace from all the boss's fish and chips?
Fresh blood on the inspector's trunk. That suggests that the victim was traveling with that luggage when he was killed.
That can't be. There was no mention of any trunk in Scotland Yard's report. Yes, there's a reason for that. Immediately after the inspector's body was discovered, one of the street peddlers made off with the trunk, hoping to sell it.
But I found it. Me, with me nose for trouble.
Which means that nobody should have known anything about the trunk. Unless, of course, we're talking about somebody who was present when the victim was killed. And yet, during the cross-examination of the witness just now, you said this, Kazuma.
Because at the time he was making his way to the steamship docked on the northern coast of France, as shown by the passport found in the victim's metal trunk.
Yeah. Ooh. So the question is, how did you know about the inspector's trunk?
We know the man went on a trip to France. Where else would he have put his passport?
Objection! But you knew it was a metal trunk. Answer me honestly, Kazuma. On the 31st of October, where exactly were you?
At the port of Dunkirk, on board the SS Grouse. Is that the answer you're looking for, Ryunosuke?
Kazuma, what did you... I hadn't considered the possibility before, but if Kazuma was there on the ship, then it could only have been for one purpose.
Oh no, Mr. Naruhodo. Surely you don't think... Come on, Ryunosuke. You know the rules. The only thing that really talks in the courtroom is hard evidence.
Remember that sentence.
As I understand it, Inspector Gregson always took that case with him when he traveled. So as it stands, you've proved nothing.
Kazuma, are you challenging me to prove it beyond all reasonable doubt that you were there that day in the same place as the inspector?
He was there with Gregson?
There's a clue that you've overlooked. A secret that trunk can tell us. I can't be sure at this point. I need to verify it. But I have a nasty feeling that I'm going to be right. The accusation being made is deeply disturbing, but nevertheless we must test it. The defense will identify for the court where in the trunk this alleged clue is to be found. Well, we saw yesterday. Where is the evidence that ties Prosecutor Asogi to Inspector Gregson? Well, it's oop. Can't find anything out of place. Let's have a look inside.
That metal shard right there.
Got it! There's a small piece of metal lodged in the wall of the trunk here, like the tip of a blade.
Hey, a blade?
Kazuma, slung around your waist as ever today, is the esteemed blade Karuma.
Of course it is.
Won't you draw it here in this courtroom for all to see?
Exercise caution, my learned friend. That man is the son of London's most notorious killer.
Bailiff, watch Prosecutor Asogi like a hawk.
That won't be necessary. Oh!
Oh, shit!
Oh no!
The tip is broken. If the fragment of metal from the trunk fits together with the end of the sword, the question of who was there with Inspector Gregson will be answered. Agreed, Kazuma Asogi?
I don't believe this. Expertly done, Ryunosuke. That's a point to you, and well deserved.
Do you mean to tell the court, Prosecutor Asogi?
Yes, on 31st October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission.
So the additional person authorized to travel
Was me.
and the mission was...
The assassination of the Mark.
What?
What in the...
What? You mean you're the killer whose name was omitted from this notebook? You were following the Reaper's orders to dispatch Judge Jigoku?
Let me make one thing perfectly clear. I have killed no one.
Explain.
I accepted the assassination mission, yes, and I accompanied Gregson to Dunkirk, but I never had any intention of carrying out the plan.
You were never gonna do it?
We can believe Kazuma-sama, I'm sure. After all, Judge Chikoku arrived safely in London the following day. On the 31st, I boarded a train from London with Inspector Gregson. We traveled to Dover, from where we crossed the channel to Dunkirk. Then we boarded the SS Grouse and made for the cabin deck, as indicated in the plan. You went to Judge Chikoku's cabin? Exactly. He wasn't there, though. We decided to wait, but
you've already told us that you had no intention of going through with it anyway.
I didn't come to Great Britain to take anyone's life, so I left Gregson and disembarked the ship. I spent that night at a boarding house in the town and returned to England the following morning. Remember that?
A boarding house in Dunkirk?
My signature will be in the register book. It will be simple enough to verify.
Then what became of Jigoku?
Gregson was no assassin, so the mark was spared. I'm sure it's easy enough to imagine what happened after that. Gregson returned to England as well, having failed to complete the mission. He met with the Reaper in that room on Fresno Street to report the failure, causing the infuriated mastermind to pull the trigger and end his wretched agent's life. I don't believe that. That's the real truth behind Inspector Gregson's murder.
Objection!
Objection! But if you did nothing as you claim, how did the tip of your sword come to be lodged into the inspector's trunk?
Yeah, answer us that, tough guy.
I don't need to answer that.
Ugh!
The victim was killed by a gunshot. A small fragment of a Japanese blade isn't relevant to the case.
But it proves that you were on the boat. Of course it's relevant.
And accordingly, I choose to exercise my right to silence on that matter.
Be that as it may, the court will sequester the sword as evidence.
As you wish, my lord.
The great sword Karuma has been entered into the court
The
record.
illustrious blade passed down through generations of the Asogi clan. The prize sword's tip has a small piece missing.
We must take immediate action now to verify whether Seishiro Jigoku remains unharmed. What? Remains unharmed?
I agree. That should be our first priority. It's recently come to my attention that he hasn't been seen since yesterday.
How did you...
When a foreign dignitary invited to Great Britain goes missing for 24 hours, it's only natural that the question of his safety should arise.
You don't mean to say that you think Judge Jigoku may have been killed?
The Reaper has more than one assassin at his disposal, and he has the power and influence to give orders from the inside of a prison cell. Isn't that right, Lord Van Zieks? If I were truly the Reaper, I'd be able to tell you.
Order! Order in court! Order! We will take an emergency recess for 30 minutes. Now? Guests of the symposium have been told to maintain regular contact with the organizer's office. If the man can't be located within half an hour, we will have to assume the worst.
Oh no, not Judge Jigoku! No one would want to kill a harmless Japanese man who'd only just arrived in the country. Except that is... for the Reaper wanting to finish off a mark that slipped through the net 10 years ago.
I would have to agree. Mr. Naruhodo, for the defense's sake, my lord, I sincerely hope we are successful. If we're unable to confirm Mr. Jigoku's healthy existence in the next 30 minutes, you will face grave difficulties. Huh? Court is adjourned for 30 minutes.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
I think we're gonna
Oh
go.
shit.
This is bad.
Ooh, this sucks.
This is bad. Cosmo-sama, the Reaper's assassin. I feel as though I'm in a nightmare.
I can hardly believe it either. But on the other hand, Kazuma isn't in the habit of making up stories.
I have such a terrible sense of foreboding. If something awful has happened to Judge Jigoku, then I feel as though things will only spiral further and further out of control.
They will anyway. I felt it from the moment I stepped into the courthouse this morning. That strange sensation that we were careering towards a foregone conclusion. Well, in the worst case, we might only have 30 minutes left. Unfortunately, though, I don't think there's anything we can do but wait now. We're out of options.
Oh, wait a minute now. Remember? Actually, there may be one last hand we can play. Or rather, one last ear.
Of course! The little Mr. Sholmes doll that Iris gave us.
If for some reason you completely run out of options in the trial today, then just pull this little Hurley's ears as hard as you possibly can.
Perhaps now is the time. What should I do? Pull Hurley's ears or not? Pull! Here goes then. I'm gonna do it.
Good luck, Mr. Naruhodo.
No looking back. Heave!
Ow! Ow!
That scream sounded like Mr. Sholmes.
Mr. Sholmes, where are you?
Here, my dear fellow, here.
It's the felt doll talking.
Pull the ears again, Mr. Naruhodo, as hard as you can.
All right then. I'll put all my strength into it. Heave! Ow, 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 ow! Please, my dear fellows, you don't need to pull my ear off.
Mr. Sholmes, where are you?
Myself and my trusty partner are presently in the first-class cabin area of the SS Grouse.
The SS Grouse?
She left Dover last night after the final piece of cargo was loaded. We are currently docked at Dunkirk, but due to be underway again in half an hour.
You've taken a ship to France?
Please, even with my athletic prowess, I would struggle to jump the Straits of Dover. After we left Baker Street last night, we hurried by cab to the station and by train to the port, in order to board this vessel in time.
So, you mean you'd already worked it out? That the steamship was where everything really took place?
Mr. Naruhodo, pray, what is my name?
Herlock Sholmes, world-famous great detective.
Recited to perfection. Well done.
You're a genius, Mr. Sholmes. That's the only word for it.
Ow, 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 ow! Mrs. Hotto, gently with this genius's air, please.
Oh my, I'm ever so sorry.
If I may, Sholmes.
Ah, there you are, Miktober.
You may remember that it was in fact I who made the connection to the SS Grouse. At Scotland Yard yesterday, when we examined that notebook and I recall my steamship ticket.
But of course it was, my dear fellow. And not once did I controvert that fact. I merely had our court-bound companions utter my name.
Yes, you did, didn't you?
We just entered a recess. The trial resumes in 30 minutes from now. And if we're unable to present any new leads then, I'm afraid to say...
Do not fret, please. It is for precisely that purpose that my partner and I have made this journey. I have no doubt we shall have welcome news for you within half the hour.
Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. That would be wonderful.
Until later, then.
Yes, you'll be hearing from us us if you're not in touch first.
Ow, 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 ow! I shan't be hearing anything if you keep tugging my ear in that mindless fashion.
Whatever was the idea behind making a receiver operated that way in the first place, Sholmes?
Why the deuce would I know? It's Iris's invention, not mine. Oh, this is great.
Yep. Whilst I know how much you enjoy being the hero of the hour, Sholmes, we have but half that now before the grouse puts to sea again. If we don't conclude our investigations rapidly, we shall find ourselves in Naples before long.
There are times, Micatoba, when you make a surprising amount of sense. So, let us begin. Look at this dude.
First class cabin number 2. Yes, this is the one. But I don't believe an investigation of the cabin is going to be plain sailing. I got this guy. His name's Chicken. That crewman standing in the front door is an angry-looking fellow.
Yeah, because I had the other one.
Why you are loitering here? Who are you?
My dear fellow, do you not recognize a world-famous great detective when you see one? The question really ought to be, who are you?
Do you not recognize world-traveling great sailor Chicken Stroganoff when you see?
Chicken Stroganoff. Oh my God. That's the worst pun I've ever heard.
Worst dad joke ever, man. Wait, what's that tattoo? What's that thing on his arm?
Oh, wow. Well, we'll think about that later.
Great detective? Ha! I don't think so.
Do you see that, Micatoba?
Look closely.
It would appear that this man is a devoted follower of mine.
Goodness me, is that a tattoo that says Sholmes?
5A
523104.
523104.
Remember that number.
Okay. Let's see if you can keep that in your bank.
Yep.
But we'll see it a couple more times. It says Sholmes. I must say, whilst such adoration is flattering naturally, it does leave me a little cold.
What are you talking about? Leave now!
How distressing. My loyal devotee knows me only by name and not by appearance. And yet I already know a great deal about you, sir. You have a brother, I believe. Like yourself, he's a shipman, currently traveling the world aboard a Russian steamship, in fact.
How could you know this?
Elementary, my dear Micatoba.
I'm sure it was. 3 days ago, I was bound for London aboard this ship you see. We're looking for one of my fellow passengers, a man by the name of Jacobu. There is no one with this name on board, but we know that he purchased a ticket for passage. You mean Easterman? He left ship 2 hours ago. He left Dunkirk. He said something about the emergency, I think. What? Are you sure? So Seychelles realized that we're after him, has he?
His cabin is the one behind you. We should like to investigate, please.
No! I have orders not to let even mouse inside!
Micatoba, be a good man and draw the sailor's attention away, would you? Make up some excuse so that he leaves the area.
Doesn't great detective see that even sailors have ears, both left and right?
Curses! The plan is ruined!
And you have only yourself to blame, I'm afraid, Sholmes. Forget it! Cabin door is locked. Even if I am not here, you cannot get inside!
Micatoba, I'm sure you haven't forgotten my special talent, have you?
Opening any lock?
Within a mere 5 seconds. So if you'd be so kind as to afford me the requisite time, old friend, in your typically accommodating manner.
How could I refuse such a typically unappealing request, old friend? So I need to distract that burly sailor for 5 seconds, do I?
Good man. So, the game is afoot. Alright.
Examine.
I'm gonna put ring the bell.
This would appear to be an alarm bell. All hell would break loose if that thing were to ring. The whole crew would know about it. Set it off! Here goes then. Pardon me in advance.
Ding, 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 ding. You! What are you doing? If we don't have seat, that would be very bad problem. What's going on down there? Seaman Stroganoff, report at once. Sorry, sir. Nothing to report. It was just a stupid trick. No, not by me. My world famous. No, as I told you. Now, Sholmes. Now.
Done.
Not even 5 seconds, eh?
But don't stand there gulping at my brilliance, Mikatoba. In we go.
Oh, yes. And in we go. That was pretty good, man. I love that.
3rd of November. Call back to the second episode.
Yep.
3rd of November, SS Grouse, first class cabin, number 2. Wow, room's kind of a mess.
Yeah, look at those clothes.
Look at that trunk.
What the? Good gracious.
It would appear that the occupant of this cabin did indeed disembark rather hurriedly.
Those clothes on the floor there. They're Seichiro's, without question.
Well, it seems you are just a little too late.
Yes, by about 2 hours.
Still, whilst we're here, we should investigate thoroughly. There may well be 2 hours worth of clues to find in here.
But that burly crewman may return at any moment, Sholmes.
Indeed he may, which makes this all the more thrilling.
Listen to that music, folks.
Yeah, buddy. Now what the hell is that? Quite the exquisite glass, I must say. See here how it...
Is something wrong, Sholmes? You suddenly trailed off.
Ice, Mikatoba, ice. What opulence the first-class passengers enjoy. Chilled drinks.
Pardon?
Could it be that the steamship is equipped with an electrically refrigerated cold room, do you think?
Well, it is a luxury liner after all.
Well, if there was one, what do you think they'd do with the body?
Ooh. They have enormous refrigerators for storing all sorts of lavish produce as well as ice. On our voyage from Japan, we enjoyed culinary delights from all over the world.
Suddenly, Mikatoba, the sight of you is making my mouth water. The hell does that mean?
I haven't taken on the flavor of food I ate, you know.
Jesus Christ. Okay, what's in the rubbish?
This is a waste paper basket. Look, and there's still rubbish inside.
Indeed? Then let us pry. I've discovered recently I have a penchant for exploring the contents of others' waste paper baskets.
I sincerely hope only for your work.
Here we have a notice issued to passengers from 3 days ago.
3 days ago, the night before we arrived in London then, when I was still aboard myself.
Evacuation drill notice, 31st of October.
Following departure from the port of Dunkirk, blah 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 blah. Yes, there was an evacuation drill. I remember now. For our safety and security, all first-class passengers were constantly under the watchful eye of the crew. So it was a welcome relief to have some privacy for once.
The evacuation drill itinerary has been entered into the court record.
Notice about a practice evacuation to be carried out by the crew of the SS Grouse the night before the ship arrived in Dover. It was found in Judge Jikoku's cabin.
Let's get a look at that. Well, you can't look at it right now.
Well, what about the wardrobe? Check the wardrobe. See if you find what you find there. According to the report I was given, Naruhodo was concealing himself in Asogi's wardrobe.
Indeed he was, and it was of similar size to this one. Ah, you must climb inside yourself, my dear fellow.
What? Whatever for?
It was the site of my first fateful meeting with Mr. Naruhodo. You can experience the moment for yourself now, complete with my dramatic rhetoric. Come along now, in you go. This will only take a moment.
Really, Sholmes? Surely you can just tell me what you said.
Well, I uttered some brilliant remark and opened the wardrobe to reveal the stowaway murderer.
I think I'll just read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. What's that up there?
This up here? Oh,
There's a speaking tube here. Look, though it's been stoppered with some cloth. So the voices of the crewmen on the bridge are an annoyance, I suppose.
or indeed so that the voices in this cabin aren't heard elsewhere.
Could something have happened in here that was for no one else's ears, do you think?
Either that, or it could be to prevent snakes from entering.
That's really become a favorite case of yours, hasn't it?
What's this?
What's that?
These are the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Additionally, there are severe punishments for stowing away wardrobes and or travel cases.
I feel the rules have increased since I last read them. Probably just my imagination.
What about the fact that they're not straight on the wall? Doesn't that strike you?
You may be right. Probably just your imagination, though, trifle. And you know what I always say, McTober. There is nothing important about trifles. Yes, there are.
It's probably just my imagination, but I think that might be slightly off.
Yeah.
Oh boy. What about the pile of clothes? You find something there?
That's a substantial heap of clothes on the floor. An overcoat, shirts, a dressing gown.
Mamoki work trousers, a Tanzan robe, a Haramaki waistband. Clearly the clothing of a Japanese man.
And clearly, Japanese men are unaccustomed to the culture of the wardrobe.
Looks to me as if they've been thrown in a heap like that in something of a hurry.
Indeed, you could help yourself to a Japanese man's shirt, perhaps. I'm sure you made mention of packing too few.
I'd very likely drown in one of Seisho's shirts. No, I'll just buy any extras I need, I think.
Okay, let's take a look at the trunk. That's a very sizable trunk indeed.
Seisho is partial all things large.
And a rather clumsy fellow if he failed to notice he'd left that behind.
Perhaps he left it on purpose. It's lighter than you might think, but still a hindrance to a speedy escape.
Pity. It's locked, so we can't look inside.
Surely 5 seconds from now, the situation will be quite different, though.
Sadly not. It has a 7-digit combination lock. And I'm not in a morose enough mood to work through all the combinations at present.
What's that?
Look at that.
The wall's a slightly different color just here, do you see?
Indeed. What you have observed arises when a frame that has been hanging for some time is removed. Perhaps your friend is an art thief.
Now there's a bold deduction worthy of a great detective, I'm sure.
He may very well be the elusive thief who has been plaguing France's galleries of late.
I think perhaps we should focus our attentions elsewhere, Sholmes, don't you? That outline on the wall. I feel as though I might have spotted something of a similar shape and size elsewhere.
Uh-oh.
You are still here?
Ah, Abel Seaman Stroganoff. Hello again.
I was beginning to think you'd never materialize.
Eh? You are waiting for me?
Of course. I was expecting you to burst in with a hearty Russian profanity far sooner.
I was in trouble with Captain because of trick you played before.
Poor innocent chicken.
It's all your fault. Ship is leaving port soon. Get off now!
Of course, we shall disembark presently, my dear fellow. But first, there is something that must be done.
What are you talking about?
Why, naturally, the debunking of your deceit and the bearing of the truth.
Kakoi!
I'm afraid I see through your lies. For one thing, Mr. Jigoku has not yet left this vessel at all.
Ugh.
Well, listen to that music. And for another, my dear Seaman Stroganoff, you know exactly where the man is, even as we speak, don't you?
How can you?
Good gracious, Sholmes. You mean you've worked it out? All of it?
It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? 10 years, no less.
Huh?
So, would you care to join me for a dance of my inimitable logic and reasoning?
Nothing would please me more.
Well, what is this?
We have but minutes until the vessel puts to sea. No games now. Let's do it!
Yes!
Time is of the essence. Mr. Stroganoff, allow me to remind you of your earlier claim. You told us that Jigoku left the ships some 2 hours ago.
That is what I said.
Sadly, that was a rather clumsy lie. You see, there is something in this room that quite clearly contradicts it.
What?
Yes, of course.
I see you've noted it too, Victoria. Then please do take the lead. What in this cabin shows the impossibility of Jigoku having disembarked 2 hours ago? Let's see what the last 3 years have done to your observational skills in Victoria.
It's been 10 years since we last did this, Sholmes, not 3.
Why, of course it has, quite. Now, all the clues are here in this cabin for your eyes to see. But as I always say, you must not only look, but observe. Observe, and the answers become clear. So, impress me.
I think I can manage that. What in this cabin shows
Take that!
Take that.
Take that.
Glass containing ice.
Perhaps you should have cleared away that glass.
How curious that the ice shouldn't have melted, despite it being abandoned 2 hours ago. It would appear that the man was here in this very cabin until moments before our arrival. With this well-chilled glass in hand.
Get your mind off the refreshment, Sholmes.
One might even conclude that somebody informed him of our boarding. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Stroganoff?
But why would Seishiro run from us?
Before we consider that question, allow me to confirm one small matter. Would I be correct in saying these first-class cabins of the SS Grouse are the same ones in which you and Mr. Jigoku were accommodated on your voyage from Japan?
That's right. They are. I was in the cabin next door, and Seishiro was, yes, 50 days in this very cabin during our voyage.
As I suspected. For you see, there are traces in this cabin of a dark secret that Mr. Jigoku had to hide.
What traces?
I know nothing about this.
This is news to you, is it, Mrs. Stroganoff?
Sholmes, what exactly are you getting at?
As I said, there are traces in this cabin of some nefarious activity. Something that appears out of place, which I'm quite sure won't have escaped your notice.
Something out of place in here?
That's the key to this, Mikitoba. The remnants of the dark deed that took place in here are being masked by something quite incongruous. I must say, I didn't foresee ever doing this dance of deduction with you again, Mikitoba.
No, quite, but life is full of unexpected twists and turns as we well know. Now then, let's see if I can't uncover the truth here.
Yes, you have the floor, my dear fellow.
It's that sign.
Take that!
Take that!
This is amazing.
It's the rules of passage in this frame here. They're obviously out of place. The way they're hanging crooked on the wall, as if they were put in there in a hurry.
Yes, as I'm sure you've already concluded. That frame was originally over here, the shape and size of a perfect match.
You're right. When did Freddy move?
Hardly the most observant of crewmen, are you, Mr. Stroganoff? I would think your captain is quite justified in having his reservations about your reliability.
Oh dear, that really seemed to touch a nerve.
So, Mikitoba, why don't you lift that frame off the wall?
Whoa!
Holy shit!
That like a bullet hole.
What? Who has been shooting walls?
I see the projectile has been removed. Clearly, the careful occupant of this room has already disposed of it. Now then, Mr. Stroganoff.
Ah!
I have the distinct impression that you're attempting to shield said occupant.
I don't know what you're talking about. Why would I try to protect Eastern Stranger?
So we're talking about the same man, I see. Good.
Oh,
I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this in no time, aren't you? Because there's some very noteworthy evidence that explains the reason why you're lying for the man. Yes, you've been told to keep this pretense, as clearly shown by...
I really don't know how to approach this one, Sholmes.
My dear Megatoba, simply keep first principles in mind. Study your subject from every angle, and I'm quite sure that you'll see it. In fact, I'd put a wager on it.
So I'm declared the fellow from all sides. Well, I can certainly do that. Well, let's go around and... Oh, look at this.
take that!
Take that!
Yeah, we're pressed for time here. We're just going. It's pretty obvious.
It's almost too obvious for words.
Quite. The universal language of the world. Money.
And I'd wager that the Eastern fellow in question is Seishiro Jikoku, yes? So I presume you realize what this means. There are clear signs that a crime has been committed in this cabin, and the way you're going, sir, you'll find yourself accused of being an accomplice.
But
I believe you know, Mr. Stroganoff. You know where Mr. Jigoku is hiding at this precise moment in time.
Look where he's looking.
Yep. As always, Megatoba, in matters of deduction, the furtive glance is your unfaltering ally.
Yes, I think you're onto something there, Sholmes. You found the chink in this burly fellow's armor.
We need only follow the man's gaze to know where our prey is hiding. The slightest flicker of the pupils, a minutely delayed blink. Nothing escapes my attention. Even that one is barely perceptible.
You could hardly call this barely perceptible, Sholmes. The man's turned his entire head. It's not exactly what you describe as a furtive glance, is it? It's almost too obvious.
We shall let your tapping toes decide, my dear fellow.
The trunk.
take that! Take that!
You turned immediately to look at this large trunk, didn't you? The truth is, Seishiro Jikogu was unable to escape from the ship in time, and is, at this very moment, doing his best to stifle his breath inside this trunk.
If he still has a breath to take, I fear he may be running dangerously low on air. I imagine he didn't count on us making a nuisance of ourselves for quite so long. I think it would be in everyone's best interest for us to open the trunk as quickly as possible.
But how can we? Are you forgetting about the combination lock? We don't know the 7-digit code.
The combination lock can't be opened from inside the trunk. Therefore, there must have been an arrangement for somebody to open it after our departure.
Of course.
In short, before Jigoku hid himself inside that trunk, he must have told somebody the 7-digit number for the lock. As I'm sure you can confirm, Mr. Stroganoff.
No! I know nothing about combination code!
Oh yeah?
Practically on your arm, you big palooka. Don't move a muscle, my good seaman.
Huh?
Now, Megatoba, would you do the honors and open the trunk?
How on earth did you expect me?
It's a 7-digit number, remember. Quickly now, we have little time. So 5, 2, 3, 1, 0, 4, 5.
Right, that's what it is. 5, 2, 3, 1, 0, 4, 5.
Take that!
Take that!
Click. There you go.
That did it. It's open. You had to meddle, didn't you?
I would probably be cheery. Well, I don't know.
Well, Eugen, you found me now. Seishiro.
Let's get him out of there. Jeez.
I was really hoping beyond hope not to find you here, you know. But you're not entirely unsurprised, I take it. No, quite. I just wish it were some other way.
Well, are you ever going to introduce me?
Ah, your reputation precedes you, Mr. Sholmes. I've read stories of many of your exploits. Excuse my manners, Sholmes. This is Mr. Jakogu, my friend and traveling companion.
The devil is in the details, Mikotoba. I believe you meant to say your old friend and traveling companion who made the cowardly decision to flee the country without a word to anyone when things turned sour.
I see my reputation precedes me as well. What an honor. Well, Seishiro, are you going to explain all this? You know it all by now, I imagine. What you didn't know, of course, is that 3 days ago, on the night before our arrival in Britain, an attempt was made on my life here on this very ship. By the Reaper of the Bailey? Yes, I've since heard. Because you were once prosecuted by the Reaper, weren't you? 10 years ago now, mind you. And I had no idea at the time what a dangerous individual he was. Anyway, when we arrived in London to find the symposium was postponed until goodness knows when, it became all too apparent to me that I might very well be targeted again. So you decided to flee the capital without saying a word to me about it? I'm afraid so, yes. Of course I realize now that I really ought to have confided in you.
It's somewhat surprising, I must say.
What is?
Well, first-class cabins aboard luxury steamships are in very short supply. It's more than a little hard to believe that this one just happened to be available.
So says the protagonist in some colorful short stories. Well, I don't care for your opinion. The cabin did just happen to be available, so I purchased a ticket, and here I am. I've just seen for myself the obvious remnants of that incident in this cabin. So you'd already purchased your return ticket before we even docked in Dover, had you? To prevent anyone else taking this cabin and seeing the evidence. Is that it? Eugen, I have nothing to say to you.
Well, in a mere 5 minutes, this ship will set off on its onward voyage and not make port again until Italy. I'm afraid we must insist that you disembark with us at once.
You have no jurisdiction over my movements. We have this, Seishiro. Take it. What is it? It's a subpoena from the Old Bailey. You're a man of the law. You know what the ramifications of ignoring a document like this from the British courts would be. You came prepared then, Eugen. Come on, let's go.
One moment.
What is it, Sholmes?
Inside Mr. Jagoku's trunk, I found this rather fascinating trinket.
That's gonna be important. What is that? What is that? Seishiro, I can't help you, I'm afraid. Some small component from something. But what? I have no idea.
I got an idea.
Me too. By the look on his face, I think he genuinely doesn't know.
Well, let us pocket it as a small souvenir for our brief sojourn in France. Small component has been entered into the court record.
Small machine part of the Mr. Sholmes found in Judge Jakoku's cabin on the SS Grouse. Well, young Naruto, I think we've done as much as we can, I'm afraid. The rest will be on the shoulders of you and your assistant.
Okay, what do we do?
Meanwhile, back at the Old Bailey. 3rd of November, 12:10 p.m. The Old Bailey courtroom.
All rise. Kazuma Sogi, I know you, and I know you wouldn't lie. But still, there's no doubt that you're holding something back. You know more than you're saying. During the past 30 minutes while this court was adjourned, all possible efforts were expended. But sadly, Mr. Jigoku's whereabouts could not be ascertained.
We must accept the unfortunate conclusion that the Reaper has already done the deed. There's no sense in wasting any more of the court's time. The prosecution calls for an immediate verdict.
Objection! No, the trial cannot end now.
You're a Japanese man, Ryunosuke. You should know when to lay down your sword.
And you should know never to presume when the battle is won.
The court has already been presented with all the evidence and heard all relevant testimony. And there can be only one conclusion, that the accused is guilty.
All relevant testimony? Far from it. There's still a crucial witness from whom the court is yet to hear a single word of testimony. In that case, call your witness to the stand at once, counsel. Yes, my lord. Tomorrow, if possible.
The witness is already on his way and scheduled to arrive tomorrow. Who on earth is this crucial witness?
Seishiro Jigoku, the very man allegedly murdered by the Reaper.
Judge Jigoku? You found him?
But the investigations of every policing resource in the capital suggest that Jigoku is already dead. How in the name of God did you find the man? He was located in France during the recess at the port of Dunkirk. Thanks to one of Mr. Herlock Sholmes' famous deductions. Herlock Sholmes? Inspector Gregson almost certainly met with Mr. Jigoku on the night of his death, because along with Prosecutor Sogi, Gregson was on a mission to assassinate the man. Which means that Seishiro Jigoku is the sole witness who can clarify exactly what happened aboard the SS Grouse on the 31st of October. Well, it would appear that it is too soon to move to adjudication at this point.
The prosecution concurs. The court must hear Mr. Jigoku's testimony. No judgment should be passed until all testimony has been considered.
In that case, I hereby call the end of today's proceedings. Court will reconvene at the same hour tomorrow. No objections from either side? No, my lord.
No objections, my lord.
We live to fight another day. By the skin of our teeth. Well. Whew.
Wow.
To be continued.
Might be a good idea to cut it short here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're right at the 2-hour mark.
Yeah.
So, save your current progress. Yes.
Well, that was an interesting trial. Tune in next week for
The first part of the investigation of this episode.
and I hear it's a short one too.
Pretty short, and I think we can skip over to the second part of the trial. It's starting to get juicy, kids.
Yep.
Really juicy.
Oh yeah.
So, tune in next week and see for yourself. I'm the Cannonball Alex Steele.
I'm the package Andrew Steele.
We are